Hello, my beautiful rock stars. It's your girl Rocqi, your revolutionary hippie from LifeIsRocqi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today on my mommy fever, so this is probably gonna be getting people in their feelings. So, you could let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Will I read them? Will I delete them? These are questions. But I'm going to talk about it. And whether you listen or not is up to you. Okay? All right. So, first and foremost, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of California. So there's that part. And then I'm a mama of a 17-month-old. I think that's all the backstory I'm going to give. Check out my Mommy Fever playlist for my journey to and through motherhood. Motherhood is definitely one of my purposes in life, and I've been preparing for motherhood a majority of my life, both personally and professionally. So that being said, let's get into it, shall we? Oh, let's bring the water closer. Oh, as far as the angle, my selfie stick broke. So I gotta get a new one, and I forgot about that by the time I was gonna record this. So all the things. But anyways, so first I wanted to clarify what insecure attachment means. So mind you, attachment, while people relate it to adults, the foundation of it was looking at children and how they're relating to their caregivers, their primary caregivers. Okay, so usually their parents or legal guardians. So an insecure attachment can form in three ways: anxious, avoidant, disorganized. Now, since learning those three back when I was in grad school, there are different words for them now. I've seen it in many different ways, so I'm going to use those. Disorganized, I believe, is what's being called fearful avoidant, whereas avoidant is dismissive avoidant, and anxious can be anxious preoccupied or anxious avoidant. There's all the things, but I'm going to talk about those three: anxious, avoidant, and disorganized, as far as insecure attachments. Okay, so the first one, anxious. Now, how it was explained to me was in reference to how the parent or caregiver, legal guardian, showed up to the infant and how that infant responded after a pattern of experiences this behavior from the parent. So with an anxious insecure attachment, the parent or legal guardian caregiver is sometimes dependable. Sometimes they are there, sometimes they are not there. So this could be parents who use drugs. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not. And also when they're there, sometimes they're not accessible, type of thing. It could also, I guess, be in reference to a parent who's not emotionally available as well. And not 100% emotionally unavailable, but just sometimes. So if a parent is suffering from mental illness, whether that's depression or bipolar or something like that, sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there, which can result in an insecure attachment of the infant. Because remember, well, this is going into my next part, but infants need their caregivers. They're not just born ready to be by themselves. No, they need someone taking care of them. So I put this down. Sorry, my computer was bugging me with the light. But yeah, so the way this shows up is sometimes the child will, let's see. So the way that they explained it to me in grad school was in an experiment of that parent or child leaving and how the child responds initially when the parent leaves, as well as when the parent comes back. So with the anxious, I believe, now it's actually dating me because this was some years ago. So with anxious, I believe it's, you know what? We're coming back because I'm starting to mix them up. So we're going to come back to the response of the child, but I just wanted to get out what the parent is doing. So that's for anxious. For avoidant, the parent or legal guardian is not present. Like, it's not a sometimes thing, they're just not there. So that would be in the instances of neglect. Now, it doesn't have to be intentionally harmful. It could be like the parents working, and overnights, or just working all the time, and the child's just left to fend for themselves. Now, obviously, in infancy, this is not okay. But I was just watching Call the Midwife, and that'd be happening. So yeah, the parent's just not there. So that would lead to an avoidant attachment with the child. And I'll again explain what that looks like in the response of the parent leaving initially and then the parent coming back. And then disorganized, that's where there's like abuse, trauma, like there's fear there of the parent acting negatively towards the infant versus just not being there, basically. So yelling, hitting, and again, this is all infancy, can lead to a disorganized attachment. So what is the response of the child? So I can't remember between anxious and avoidant. Well, okay, avoidant is when the parent leaves, the infant doesn't acknowledge their departure. And that's because when they are present, they're not present. So it's they don't care if they're gone, and then when they come back, they don't register it either. So it's like they're already pushed in independent mode. Like, they're not depending on that adult because they're not there. Whereas anxious is I guess it could be two ways. When the parent leaves, it could be, I gotta make sure I'm keeping time. When the parent leaves, it could be, they're seeking the parent out, where'd they go? Or they could be, lack of register. And then when the parent comes back, I'm so excited that you're back, trying to excite the parents with their joy so that way they stay. Or it could be a lack of register. So it just depends. Now with disorganized, the response of the child is all over the place because it's fear. So the child is just, they're going through a lot when the parent is, acting in a way that causes an infant to be afraid. So those. How that shows up in adulthood may be different. But we're talking about infants. Okay. So that being said, now, so the ideal is you want to build a secure attachment with your child. Okay. You don't want them to not trust that they can depend on you as their parent of someone who's under 1 or under 2. Like, really? So that being said, first, as humans, we need to acknowledge that we're carrying mammals. What does that mean? That means we carry our babies. Okay. So that's like apes, whether that's a gorilla, a chimpanzee, a bonobo, or a monkey. Okay. They all carry their babies, right? Until the babies are old enough to start moving around on themselves. And then it's still a little clingy. Okay. Other carrying mammals are kangaroos. They have their pouch. Could be koalas. What are other carrying mammals? The only one that popped into my head was possums. But yes, there are a lot of carrying mammals where they will carry their young. Now you see this within history of humans with baby wearing. And I'm so glad that baby wearing has caught on within Western countries and they're bringing it back. I was able to back carry, traditionally African back carry with my daughter. It was actually very uncomfortable for my back. So I actually preferred a SSC, soft structured carrier. So I have the Lily Baby 4-in-1. And that's just better for my back. But for the next baby, I am going to try a ring sling. I did do the Moby wrap, but I didn't like it because that's a heck of a lot of fabric and and once you take the baby out, you can't put the baby right back in. You got to readjust and stuff. And that was just too much for me. I can't be doing all that. But yeah, baby wearing is a common thing, like, because the baby needed to be close. And that's the thing. The reason we're carrying mammals is because we're not the kind of mammals that put their young down and then the young stay quiet, like deer, you know, that or lions. Even when lions are first born, they are, the lioness will remove herself from the pride, and they will go into some, bushes and stuff, have their babies, but they're there by themselves for a while. But mama still got to go out and hunt, and the babies know not to go out, and then the deer, mama has to go out and eat. The babies know not to make a sound, or otherwise predators are going to find them, right? What do you do when you leave a human baby alone? They cry. So yeah, no. Not, I think it's called Cache mammals. So yeah, we're not those. No. And then I also thought about like turtles. Turtles, when they lay their eggs, that mama is gone. Like, mama, where are you? Mama is gone, nowhere in sight. So when those eggs hatch. So yeah, we're not those kind of animals. And then I was also thinking about like elephants and dolphins. Now, while they're not carrying mammals and they're not cash mammals, I forgot what the other one is. And I can't look it up right now because I'm on my phone and my other phone stopped working. But I forgot what the other type of mammal is. But those mammals, those young, stay close to the mothers. So elephants, like, you can see them. I've seen pictures of them sleeping all curled up together. It's so cute. But they stay very close to the mamas, whether that's carrying or holding their tail or being right up under them. And then dolphins, if you've ever seen those videos and nature documentaries, all that, their young stay close to them as well, even though they're swimming in the ocean. So, and if you can see like predators chasing, the young will stay close to the mother. So versus like the mother, like, park it over here and, run. So that being said, humans are carrying mammals. We see this with, in comparison to other species, as well as with the history of baby wearing. Now let's get into the history of bed sharing. Now I will say, co-sleeping and bed sharing are not the same. Co-sleeping includes bed sharing, but is not limited to bed sharing, okay? Co-sleeping could be the baby is in the same room as the parents, okay? So we got a crib, we got a bassinet, it's in the room and beside the bed. They right there, but they not in the bed with me, okay? So people who are like, co-sleeping is the devil. Excuse me. We want them in the room at least, okay? And then as far as bed sharing, that's what we're going to get into today. In reference to crying it out. So, I guess I should also say that. And then also check out my other video. I'm going to put it in the link above. Breastfeeding and bed sharing. I'll talk more about that. But crying out. Crying it out. Now, while some people say it's any and everything leaving your baby to cry for longer than 5 minutes, some people will specifically say you're leaving them without comfort. You're not speaking to them. You're not there to hold them. You are leaving them in a room, closed door, to cry it out by themselves, in the hopes that they self-soothe and go to sleep. So that's specifically what I'm referring to today. So now let's get to SIDS, because that's everybody's concern. So first you want to look up SIDS rates in relation to Western countries and everywhere else. Okay, because SIDS just in and of itself became a thing in Western countries at the same time with the rise of C-sections, the rise of inductions, the rise of twilight sleep, which is basically they drug the mama so much that she doesn't remember the pain of childbirth. Like, she wakes up like, oh, I had a baby. Okay, so that's the twilight sleep, which also put more mothers in hospitals than the home births they were previously having. It was also at the same time that formula was pushed on mothers as the best choice for babies. And then also solitary sleep. And I'm not talking solitary sleep as in the crib. I'm talking in a room by themselves, ain't mama around in sight. Okay. So I just want you to pause and think about this. I spent 9 months inside my mama. I heard her heartbeat. I heard her voice. I felt her warmth. Like, it was just warm, squishy, and soft and cuddly. And just, I was with my mama. Now I'm born into this big, scary world. And I'm going to be entirely a room apart from my mother in this cold space by myself. What in the world is going on? Like, would you feel safe with that? Would you feel comfortable? Would you want to sleep? Okay. So that part. All right. So what are some of the benefits of being actually with mom? And again, this is co-sleeping. But I'd say I'm still an advocate more for bed sharing over co-sleeping or room sharing. But I do understand that it's not, everybody can't make a safe environment to bed share. So definitely recommend room sharing over the separate room, which has a higher SIDS rate than room sharing. Oh my goodness, I didn't even bring my book. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to get up. One sec. Where is my book? Here we go. Doo-doo-doo. Okay. So my doula actually gave me this book. It's called Safe Infant Sleep by James McKenna, PhD, where he talks about different studies and stuff on safe sleeping with infants. It definitely was a game changer for me because I was not practicing safe sleep. I was forced into it. I got a bassinet for my child. She refused it, and I needed to sleep. So it wasn't until after that book where I started doing it safely. So, and that's the thing. That's why I'm making this video, is a lot of times people will, and I meant to say crying it out, but it really turned into bed sharing. I don't know. Anyways, I guess it's all to say that the baby needs to be close. And when they're crying it out, they're saying that it's, well, yeah, it's, I can't depend on you. Like the other day, I closed my child, my 17-month-old, in her room, and it was less than 5 minutes. I just had to go to the bathroom, and it was at nighttime, so we were about to go to bed. And I had cleaned up already, and I didn't want her getting out. So I was like, let me just run to the restroom real quick. She cried so much she threw up. And that was in less than 5 minutes. And it made me realize how much the worst fear of a child is abandonment. And a lot of adults have abandonment issues. Now, mind you, as an adult, you can't be abandoned because you are not dependent on anyone. But as a child who is dependent on other adults, you definitely can be abandoned because you need someone to help take care of you. You cannot do it by yourself, you know? So yeah, their worst fear is abandonment. So of course, you know, clean her up, soothe her. She was happy as a clam seconds later. But yeah, just remind her I'm here. I hugged her, gave her a kiss, all that stuff. But yeah, it just reminded me that, yeah, they need us for warmth, for love, for attention, for safety, for food and nutrients, for sleep. And yeah, I guess I go into the Safe Sleep 7 in that breastfeeding and bed sharing video. Because I wrote down all this and I'm like, I'm supposed to be talking about crying it out. Got confused. Today's been a day. But anyways, yeah, I really started, my bad, y'all. I really started going into bed sharing. But I guess I'm talking about the benefits of bed sharing because people will do the cried out method to get the child to be in the room by themselves. So that being said, when you leave the child in the room and you're not talking to them, you're not coming in to comfort them, you're just like cry until you fall asleep, this is what the child's learning. I can't depend on you. When I cry, my only form of communication, especially before they become verbal, you will not respond to my cries. When I'm saying in the only language that I have to help me, to come get me, that I need you, you're saying I can't trust you, that I'm abandoning you. So I will no longer cry. After a time, I know that you will not come if I cry, so I won't cry. Did I learn to sleep? Did I learn to soothe myself? No, I just accepted the fact that my parent doesn't give a fuck about me. They choose themselves over me. And that's a hard hitter. But that's what your baby's learning with the cry it out method. Now, if you are coming in to soothe your baby, whether that's talking to them, holding them, and just trying to get them to sleep in their room, that's different because you're trying. But just leaving them in their cold space, especially the younger they are. Like, once you get into toddler age, it's like, all right now. Like, right now, I'm like, all right, I'm starting to wean breastfeeding. She has a floor bed in her room, but she knows how to come in my room. And I'm just like, all right now. But the younger you are, like, people fresh out from the hospital with newborns are trying to put them in a room by themselves. And I love the saying of 9 months in, 9 months on, 9 months near. But that's how many months? 27? 27 months? 9 months in, 9 months on, 9 months near. Yeah. So, probably have to go soon. But, yeah, I really wrote a lot about bed sharing. But yeah, it's, I understand that breastfeeding is not always great for the mother. It is what is best for the baby, but it's not always great for the mother. And therefore, there's an incompatibility there. I understand that bed sharing is something that has to be intentional in order to make it safe. Which, in addition to the Safe Sleep 7, definitely look up. There's also using a floor bed, and making sure that you get one that has a Green Guard Gold certification, so it doesn't have it's not made with toxic chemicals, and that you're also airing the mattress out to prevent mold. You also want to make sure there's no gaps in between the bed and the furniture or the wall, because entrapment actually has a higher suffocation rate. And then, of course, no blankets, pillows, and then the C curl position. So you're just curling around your body. So basically, you're in the fetal position, your baby's in the fetal position, you're facing each other. And then also separate young infants with younger children. So toddlers be sleeping wild. Don't put the infant near baby, near the child. So those things, in addition to the Safe Sleep 7. So there are ways to make it safer, but that's not always everybody's setup, you know. But the crying out method, what kind of relationship do you want with your child? Do you want a relationship with your child where your child can depend on you? Your child can trust you? Your child can know that you will meet their needs, their biopsychosocial needs? And then also, I want you to think about how you have learned emotional regulation. What does that look like for you? What does self-soothing look like to you? Tell me, what are your tactics and skills for self-soothing? What are your tactics and skills for emotional regulation? And when did you learn that? Did you learn that as an infant? as a newborn? Because I'm just learning it in adulthood now. So, and you know the funny thing, the way that they learn how to soothe is through you modeling it, through having them on your chest so they can feel your heartbeat, having them close and hear you singing, hear you breathing, hear your voice. You are the one that soothes them by you being there, not by you not being there. Because tell me, how are they soothing themselves? Through thumb sucking that you're going to get mad at anyway? Are you teaching them anything? Like, I don't know if you're aware, but because we're animals, our young learn through observation and mimicry. Observation and mimicry. So what are you teaching them? And what are they able to learn as a newborn when they're still barely opening their eyes? So, first I was all for putting my child in their own room, which she does have her own room. I had a bassinet. And first I took it as I'm willing to, let me make sure I'm good. Okay. At first I took it as I'm willing to go to her room. Like, I'm willing to walk. I'm willing to get up. People say I'm tired. I don't want to get up. I was like, I'm willing to do that. And then I realized it had less to do with that and more to do with, one, is she breathing? Okay. There's a reason we have that. Yes, you need to do that. That actually helps prevent all of the SIDS issues when you're constantly checking to make sure that they are alive. If you are constantly checking, you will constantly be able to check or catch something if something is wrong, okay? But if you negate that, then you are fighting against your instincts to make sure your baby is alive, okay? Trust your instincts. And your instincts are there for a reason, okay? But anyways, so then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have her in the room with me. But even when she was in the bassinet beside my bed, I was still like peeking, like, you alive? You breathing? You know? And the most comfortable I felt was when I was breast sleeping. I was breastfeeding and bed sharing. I could feel her. I could see her moving. And I didn't have to move to do it. So yeah, so that made me feel more comfortable with just her. But also, I'm sorry, I'm having a nostalgic moment. Just learning my little baby and her getting comfy with my breasts and that being her soothing. Because these are like pillows, okay? Who don't want to be laying on these, all right? And you also got to think about, like, adults like to cuddle with other adults. So why are we like, no, you're a newborn? Never. You know? And it's like, yes. We are a social species. We're very in need of touch, which we definitely downplay and only reserve for romantic relationships for some bizarre reason. But anyways, like, yeah. So how are you teaching your baby to soothe? Through observation and mimicry. How are you teaching them to soothe? How are you teaching them to regulate their emotions? What do they do when they're sad? What do they do when they want or need someone else's touch or love? What do they do when they're angry? What have you taught your baby? Because expecting them to pull out of thin air and figure it out. I'll give you one example. Something I learned about in grad school. It was an orphanage in Eastern Europe, and the children were rocking. And it was because that orphanage didn't have people there to service the children. It was way too many children and not enough staff, and it was also like neglect and abuse and all that other stuff. So that's what the children resorted to. But do you want your child doing that? Do you want your child sitting in the corner rocking themselves because you couldn't get your ass up and go rock your child yourself? I'm just saying. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Whew. I think maybe I had crying it out methods so attached to bed sharing because that's usually the conversations that be happening online. Is like, because you can't safe sleep with bed sharing, the only option is crying it out. But even with crying it out, again, you can, when they do cry, you go back, you soothe them, you get them settled. Although, like, with the floor bed, bruh, feed her and roll away. And I've gotten a floor bed since she was 4 months old. So, and the roll away method, I mean, you do got to be strategic with it, but it works for me. So yeah. But just leaving them in the room, closing the door, walking away for hours, and they're just crying the whole time until they learn they can no longer trust you. Why is that a lesson you want to teach them? But yeah, I gotta go do some supervision stuff. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to check out my other video, breastfeeding and bed sharing, as well as the rest of my mommy fever playlist. And like always, take care of you and that baby too. Okay? Light and love.